and welcome to my lovely tiny house. It's already 1 year that I'm living in a Coda Loft Extended, and I think it's finally time to do a little review and to give you a better overview on how everything looks inside currently. Let's go on a small room tour.
So you have a nice impression on what changed and how the house currently looks like. So we have January, as you can see, we have a lot of snow outside. You always have a nice view to the outside. The glasses are quite mirrored, so it's not always easy to see inside. For us, this was so far really nice. We had cool opportunities to see some deers or some birds and other wildlife that is around here. But of course, when it gets dark outside and you have lights on the inside, you are like a little theater to others. So yeah, this is our living room. We now have a nice orange sofa that I enjoy a lot. It's a sleeping bed, so you can extend it outwards a bit, and it's really nice to sleep on there. So if you have guests, we have a bit of space there. I think to our television part, nothing much has changed. We have a little scratch box for our cats, and they don't use it to scratch at all. They just sleep on there basically. The kitchen also didn't change much, I guess. We like to put on a little blanket here because this is the place we usually eat. We got some bar chairs that we really enjoy. Maybe it would be cool to have a third one here. I think there's enough space to have 3 people sitting here, but usually we are 2 people, so it's 2 persons to eat. And when we have guests over, I sometimes just sit on the chairs, and this also works astonishingly well actually. I'm still super glad we got the additional door. It makes the room way brighter. There's much more light coming in. In the summer it's nice to just open it up. And I'm not sure if you are aware of German culture. We like to lüften, which means we open the doors and the windows wide open for a few hours, a few minutes, a few hours would be a bit much, for a few minutes to get some fresh air in, and to have a big air exchange, because there's no AC besides one air pump in the bathroom. So the kitchen is as it is. We still enjoy it a lot. I really like the 2 induction stoves that we have. We use all the space, cat food, our pantry, our cutleries and dishes, and the pots and stuff fits in perfectly well. I think for 2 people that's definitely enough room. And maybe we can peek into the bathroom also. This is also the standard. We didn't change stuff in here, so it still looks similar to the way we bought it. Only thing we added is maybe some suction cup hooks to put on our blankets and towels and stuff. Maybe let's just go into the office. So here's the little transition area. I put up some hooks over here so we can hang up our bigger clothes. And this is the room that I currently use as office, so sorry it's a bit crowded. We put in some shelves in this little niche here and have our stuff into these black boxes. This works great. I have my wool stuff, so like I like to spin wool and knit and stuff, so I have my spinning wheel here. I changed my big computer, it was this box, into a slider version, which is now this GPU case basically. So I just use the external GPU and do everything on my notebook now. So there's not much to see so far. The 2 things still missing in here is that we want to hang up pictures on this wall, and then there's still the empty light sockets here. So I'm still searching for lights that I can use for streaming and video recording that would make sense to install on these. They are on both sides, because this room is usually intended to be used as a sleeping room. So that would be a big bed on the inside. Then the backside terrace is where we usually use the space to dry our clothes on this little rack. In winter this takes a bit longer than in the summer, of course, but still works really nice. And when we take a look up here, we have the top mezzanine where we sleep, and this is maybe where we can now go, and then we already basically have seen the whole house, I guess. So up we go the stairs. There's a little seating area that I really enjoy to use for coding. We put a little cozy lounge chair basically in here. And I enjoy it a lot. There's a super lovely view, a second little shelf that fits to the other one from the office, a nice light and some books and my headphones. So this is my relaxing zone, coding zone, something like that. And the last thing that is left to look up is our sleeping area. So we have a little bed on top of here, and I store my clothes up here. My partner has his clothes on the bottom shelf in a box. Because I need 2 boxes and he only needs 1. Alright, I think that's basically it. If you have questions about this house, let me know in the comments. And I think now it's time to discuss maybe some pros and cons that we realized about this house over the first year that we live in it.
So let's first start with the cons, and I have 3 points I'd like to mention. First one, not so major, is the shower drain. You've seen in the room tour that the shower floor and the shower drain are very flat. So be careful, you have to stand basically directly over the drain to have it properly run down all the water. Otherwise you have a quite big puddle in your bathroom. And the tiny fix that we did is, first thing, move the shower head directly over the drain, and second thing, we did a little silicone line on this side glass window part. So now most of the water stays behind the shower door, and this makes it a lot easier to clean up. Second issue we had is the rain drainage on the back terrace. And the way the drainage system works is there is a metal rail that has some holes in it, so it drops down on the back terrace. All good, but as we sleep on the rear mezzanine, and also the room that I use as office is usually intended as sleeping room, you can hear the drops on the back terrace, and this drove us nuts. So we added a little extra metal rail with a little nose basically. So we collect the water in there and let it drop only 10 or 15 centimeters behind the terrace, so we can't hear the drops and it just goes directly onto the stones. And the last con that I have, and this is more of the major issues I would say, is that we had quite some problems with the doors, especially the side door and the door that separates the kitchen and the office space. Both of these doors didn't close properly. The side door had a quite big gap, and that was actually easy to fix in hindsight. We had contact with Coda and the company that makes the doors, and they sent us a little metal plate that we could fit behind the hinge, so we could slightly tilt the door basically, and now it shuts perfectly fine. But this middle wooden door is still problematic for us, because you can adjust the hinge yourself slightly in height. But even on the lowest setting, the door still scratches a bit on the top part currently. Wood changes and wood works, so I think the easiest fix for us is to take out the door and sand down the little part that is still scratching. It's not much, I think it's 1 to 2 millimeters maybe. And then it's also fixed, but so far we haven't done it because we don't close the door super often, only basically when I need silence in the office and my partner is watching television here, for example. It's nothing that is not fixable, but it is something that you should definitely check when you get your Coda and make sure that all the doors close properly. And now to the pros. I think the building and delivery time is extremely short. From the day we ordered to the delivery, it was about 4 months. And if you compare this to regular house building times, especially here in Germany, there are worlds between these time frames. And I think currently Coda SEMA also has some sort of Coda houses on stock. So you can even order now and get them delivered in 2 weeks, which is crazy to me. And I think this is only the super tiny models, but still fantastic. And I think you've seen the way they come delivered in the last video I make the tiny house. If not, go check it out, link is below the video. And it's also rather easy. Of course, in Germany you have all the building restrictions. I think that's the harder part, to get the building restrictions done and ready so that you have the permit to set it up. But after that, it's set up in one day. You can move in about one day. We had to wait a bit longer because for us electricity was missing, and because it was delivered in winter, the house needs a few days to heat up. We have the model with only the floor heating, so I think it took about 2 to 3 days to heat it up properly. The second point that I really enjoy is the overall interior concept. For us, it's important to have these mezzanines, for example. For us, it doesn't make sense at all to use a whole room as sleeping area. And also the kitchen, it's really tiny, but it works perfectly well in the way it's designed. We enjoy a lot making hot pot, for example, where you can sit on one side and use the induction stove to make your big hot pot and boil all your cool food in there. And it's just fun to cook in there. You have so much light, you can look outside and still enjoy being with people while cooking, and I enjoy this a lot. You can also, of course, have this in bigger apartments, in bigger houses, or in other tiny houses too, of course. But I think the way it compromises between limited space and still open big areas, for me, is fantastic combination. And this is also, I think, my third point is the big windows. The last house we lived in was a very old, typical German house that was built after the war with like everything you had on hand, I guess. So there were very tiny windows. It was super dark. Some rooms were not properly heated, rather cold. And having now this so open space where we can watch nature and feel the sun is just perfect. This is exactly the way I enjoy living. And of course, on this place that we set up the house, we are super close to the forest. So if you would set up a coda in the city, this might be slightly different. You might want to have a curtain. But for us, it's just having this open view is exactly what we wanted. And I enjoy it a lot. And also, tiny pro add-on maybe is the communication with Coda Sima, especially during the building phase. It was super nice. We chatted back and forth because there were like questions. For example, on the kitchen, we chose to have the blue kitchen, but they could not source the blue doors in time. And they were asking us what we would prefer to do then. Should we wait? Should they paint it blue? Should we leave them black? And we decided for the black doors, and I think this is actually the super perfect combination because you have like, you don't have that huge wall of the same color. It's more like a puzzle, and because there's already other black parts in this room, like the entrance door, for example, it makes an overall really harmonized appearance now. I am glad Coda Sima could not source the blue doors, to be honest. I really enjoy how it looks now. And so like they were super responsive. They asked for details when they were not sure. And that's the thing that you might want to keep in mind is each Coda, even though the concept is fixed, is an individualized project. So you can configure it, and also not in a very static configurator like a car maybe. It's more like that you can still make wishes on what should be changed, and they will see if they can make it happen. So each house is a still very individually built thing. So, time for conclusion. Would I buy a Coda Loft Extended again? Absolutely. I totally love it, and even though there are some downsides, for me personally, it's the perfect house. I would totally buy them again, and I enjoy living here a ton. Are Codas for everyone? Certainly not. I think it depends a lot on your living style and what you are imagining, and also on the places you are setting it up, because I think they work way better in more rural areas for more nature, or at least where it's fine to have big windows. I, for myself, I can't really imagine having them like in the city center where everyone just walks by and looks in. This is maybe not the way I would imagine it, but in the end, you know, this comes up to you. If you are fine with having curtains all over the big windows, totally go for it still. So I hope this video gave you a better insight on how it is to live in a Coda Loft Extended. And if you have questions, feel super free to ask them in the comments or hit me up with an email. I'm very happy to answer them if I can. And I would also be super happy to see you again for the next video. And have a great week. See you soon and bye bye.